Hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to know the tricks of the trade about working from home effectively? Today, I am joined by the general manager of Robocore, Mrs. Tatiana. We are going to be discussing our top tips for working from home. So, hello, everybody. My name is Carmen. I am a career coach and HR specialist with 15 years experience, and I'm on the mission to help professionals find whatever success means to them. Tatiana, please introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Tatiana, and as Carmen said, I'm the general manager of Robocore. I'm a mother of two young kids, and I have an experience of excess of 20 years working in big corporate companies and leading teams, plus more than a decade of working from home and remotely. It's a long
Wow.
time.
Yeah, so this is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this video for you today, because Tatiana and I have a very different introduction and way of how we got into working remotely. From my case, it became at the start of the pandemic. That's when I started working from home. But as Tatiana just explained to you, she has ample experience from working from home for several years now. So it's going to be really interesting at what we have to bring with us today. So do mind if you hear children screaming in backgrounds or dogs barking. We are from home, and this is the beauty about working from home. So to start off, I'm going to give you my top 5 tips, okay? And once I'm done with my top 5 tips, Tatiana will give you her top 5 tips. So as far as working from home, my top tips would be definitely set times to start working and to end, okay? And if you can, even add alarms so that you can stick to those times. Definitely one of the things that I found when I started working from home was the difficulty in being accountable for my time and ending it. You know, the barriers and the boundaries between work and home life become very meshed together. So the more that you can separate them, the better it will be for you. So that brings me to my second tip. The second tip I would say is allocate a special designated space to work. Do not work in your bed or confuse different spaces, because what will happen, and I speak from experience, is that it will be now 10 o'clock at night and you are going to have difficulties in sleeping because you have programmed your brain to associate working with your bed as opposed to sleeping with your bed or wherever you're working from. Right, Tatiana? Do give me a heads up if I'm mistaken.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
no,
this
no,
is
definitely.
definitely something to focus on. The third thing is allocate time to connect with your team, not just be working all the time, right? So this is something that Robocore is also quite big in, that I love with them, is that they also set allocated times to converse, just normal conversations, even if it's just creating a Slack channel for that. But not only focusing on work, because in the end of the day, we are humans and relationships are very important to us. So fourth thing, set up almost like a pre-game routine. Think about yourself like an athlete, right? So when you're home, it's very difficult for you to get in that state of mind of working, of being professional. So even if it's as putting a little bit of makeup or doing your hair or putting on some professional clothes, so instantly you're telling yourself that, you know, this is now game time. It's time for me to show up as my professional bestest self. You know, don't come working in your pajamas and, you know, with like Doritos hanging from your hair. It's going to affect your state of mind, right? Your productivity, the way you think, and that will change your results. So my fifth tip is then communicate with your family. Okay, you are in a shared space, so if you need to use the office and there's only one office, do tell them ahead of time, you know, this is the times I've got meetings, please don't disturb me in this time. But the more you communicate with your family, the more they can all help you with your job. So Tatiana, over to you.
Yeah, all very, very good, valid points. So for me, it's slightly different in that I started working over 10 years ago, well, probably more like 15, and that was more of a life choice, because at the time I was with someone who was moving around the country, so it was just a case of, and this was before actually home working was ever kind of a thing that happened. So it was something that I had to make it work and make a point that you can do it from home. So the fact that obviously COVID hit, didn't make any difference to me because I've been doing it for many years.
Yeah.
So for my top tips, my very first one is, and the most important, I think, is to schedule your day. That was my second one, but it's actually my first tip. Just to think out. So every morning or the night before, I kind of think what I've got to do, how I'm going to do it. And then when I get up, I know exactly what I need to do, especially with kids. So schedule your day. My second one for me, and this is a personal thing, is that I need to do some form of exercise. So I get up quite early, 5:30 in the morning, to have like an hour or so of time for myself, so that I can do some exercise, just clear my head, think about my day, think about what I've got to do, as you know, not only for work, also for kids, what I've got to take for them to school, what activities we've got after school, all of these things. So it just really helps me clear my mind. Then the third one is, once I've finished that, is then start my day. So that would be getting the kids sorted, taking them to school, come back, make sure I have everything in place and what calls I've got, and just to know what you've got to do for that day. Then my fourth tip is intertwining work with home activities, because you know, obviously it's a busy life when you've got children. So it's every, you know, if I've got 5 minutes, I might put the washing out, I might do a bit of hoovering, and it's just a case of having that life home balance, really. Nothing that will kill you, obviously, or if I've got to do some dinner, something I can just quickly fit in while in between calls or doing some work. Then my fifth tip is, when I'm working, sometimes I like to work in silence, because I've worked from home for such a long time. When I used to go into the office, I used to find it very difficult because I was so used to silence. Then I had people chatting. What I found was that I would home into their conversations, you know, and not focus on what I was doing. So I do quite like silence, but if I'm doing mundane stuff, which is quite repetitive, it's quite nice to have a bit of music. So it's kind of changing it up depending on what work you're doing and what mood you're in. So obviously the more detailed work, I just like silence. And that's really my kind of top tips that helps me to get through my work-life balance.
Thank you so much. Those are great tips, definitely. I 100% say that the intertwining the work with the home has definitely been my favorite in working from home. That ability that now you're here. So if you have 5 minutes, you can get ahead with some little things in your breaks, right? Whereas you couldn't do that if you were in the office.
No, exactly. That would be kind of the thing that you'd have to think about. Oh, I've got to do this, that, and the other. Whereas you can fit it in now, hopefully.
Yeah, right? I mean, how many minutes does it take to put the washer on?
Yeah.
Great advice. Okay, so because you stuck around, we do have some bonus tips that we couldn't quite remove, but we didn't really know where to fit. So here they go. If you find them useful, let us know. So tip number 1 is getting organized. So if you're going to be working from home, definitely have some sort of bullet journal or use a whiteboard, use your calendar. Visual reminders and some place to get organized is going to help you immensely, right?
Yes. I mean, I always make a list for myself every day of tasks I need to do. So you're right, that's key. Definitely.
Second, take time off. I'm sure I need time off. Tatiana needs time off. We all need time off. But do take some time off, especially if you're working from home, because again, setting those boundaries is incredibly important. So do take some time to step away. The third is set up an accountability partner, or, you know, be very clear on what are the consequences of not doing actions. So when you're working from home, especially if you're self-employed or something, often we find that we don't have that pressure. We don't have that manager watching over us. Right. And so we need to now put that pressure onto ourselves. So if you get a partner, be it a friend, a colleague, a manager, anyone, right, a professional, a coach, whatever it may be for you, that's a really, really good thing, because then you have that pressure. Pressure is going to make you perform better, right? If you stay stagnant, you have no pressure, you're not really going to be doing your best. The fourth is make sure that your environment is as clutter-free as possible, or at least that it is as organized as possible. Each person is different, right? Tatiana has children. I'm sure that's going to be a much more difficult challenge, but as much as possible, it will really help. Even if it's just make sure that your screen is clutter-free, because that's where you're going to actually be looking. If that's the case, then at least stick to what you can. And the fifth thing is prioritize what is important. Okay, so you're not going to be able to do everything in one day, but if you can have a list like Tatiana's recommended, prioritize what is urgent, what is important, what must you do. The rest can wait. You can't be everywhere and do everything in a day. So we hope that you enjoyed our tips today, and we look forward to our next video. Do like, comment, subscribe somewhere, and and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.